So I've been worried for months now, since probably the inauguration, that while I am scared at a lot of the potential changes that Donald Trump is talking about, the healthcare plan is gonna be absolutely devastating, it's gonna kill tens of thousands of people every single year. I've been worried that when inevitably, because of the world we live in, the first big domestic act of terrorism happens, that might be the time when not necessarily Trump, but his circle leaps into action and uses that in the same way that 9/11 was used to make massive changes, like the Patriot Act and things like that. So look, this is not that sort of terror attack necessarily, but we saw how he used the dropping of the Moab in Afghanistan, the bombing of the airfield in Syria to get a little bit of good press coverage. So I was worried about that, but Donald Trump did speak earlier today. We're gonna play some of his remarks and then analyze.
Our brave Capitol Police perform a challenging job with incredible skill, and their sacrifice makes democracy possible. We also commend the brave first responders from Alexandria Police Fire and Rescue, who rushed to the scene. Everyone on that field is a public servant. Our courageous police, our congressional aides, who work so tirelessly behind the scenes with enormous devotion, and our dedicated members of Congress who represent our people. We may have our differences, but we do well in times like these to remember that everyone who serves in our nation's capital is here because, above all, they love our country.
I'm not good with a teleprompter either. I'm just gonna admit that up front, but it's a very serious event. He has to read off the teleprompter, it's perfectly fine. I'm not a Republican attacking Obama or anything like that.
Speaking off the cuff.
Yes, and I would have to say this is just his initial statements. God only knows what will happen in the next 24 hours, but it doesn't appear that, like I didn't get a House of Cards vibe off of that. It doesn't seem like they're going to attempt to use this, but God only knows what will happen in the next 24 hours.
I'm actually pretty shocked and also happy with the way Trump has handled it so far. I mean, I'm probably speaking too soon, and by the time this video gets uploaded onto YouTube, I'm gonna, wish I hadn't said this.
We'll be invading Qatar.
Right. But I'm glad that, look, there are a lot of people online that are politicizing this immediately, right? And trying to use it for their own agenda. But I'm glad that we're at least not seeing that from Trump and his administration yet.
Yeah, because really the only thing that he can say is talk about gun control, right? And the Bernie stuff and Hillary stuff, and of course they're not going to touch gun control.
Yeah,
I think what
the
you
Bernie
said,
stuff he'll tweet tomorrow morning.
Yeah, exactly. At 4 in the morning,
That's my prediction.
But no, it was interesting. Right before we went to the clip, you said the good press coverage from dropping the Moab and the Syria bombing. I mean, how disturbing is that?
Yeah.
To get bipartisan good press,
using poetic terminology and.
It's sick. It's absolutely sick. And where was Trump on when the Portland shooter massacred those people? It's just I'm really obviously he has to say something about this. It's a horrific event that took place in the nation's capital against congressmen. But I just wish that he could extend the same sympathy to other horrific events like this.
Did he ever speak out against the victims of Dylan Roof's shooting?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
I don't remember any public statements from him, and it's
easy to predict which ones he's going to comment on if you know a couple of demographic bits of info.
And by the way, I could be completely wrong, and he might have maybe said something that I missed. But it's interesting the types of shootings, especially when you consider the shooter and the motive, what certain people will speak out against, and then, of course, refuse to speak out against.
Or call it terrorism too. A lot of people are like, oh, we can't call it terrorism yet. It's like, well, if the guy was Muslim, I'm sure that would be the first thing out of your mouths. But of course, that's just a tired trope.
What do you get for Young Turks membership? It's a mystery. Only one way to find out. TYTnetwork.com/join.